Nick Marsh likely back for Michigan State, and that's good because no one else in the receiver room is. And also, Michigan State pulverizes Nebraska. Oh my God, Michigan State basketball just keeps rolling. Let's go.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet. You'll get started with $150 in bets if you win that first $5 bet. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, thank you all so much for tuning in to Locked On Spartans. It's your team in green and white 5 days a week. Please rate, review, subscribe. Comment below how you're feeling about Michigan State basketball. Are they back? Yes, we're going to get there in the second segment after they beat Nebraska by about 18,000 points. We're going to kick this show off with a little bit of football because what was one of the biggest anxieties throughout the whole season, aside from whether Michigan State was going to win the game or not, they succeeded at that 5 times and failed 7 times. Miserably at the end of the season, but we already know that story, guys. No, even throughout the season, if there was any glimmer of hope, it was that, oh my God, this Nick Marsh kid is disgusting at playing the wide receiver position. We found ourselves a gem here. Yeah, sure, he was highly praised as a prospect. He was a highly rated 4-star recruit, but man, no matter how talented you are coming out of high school, it's very hard to make that heavy of an impact early on, but such is life in this day and age in college football. We got emails, guys, starting from game 2 this season of, hey, is Nick Marsh going to return? Is he going to be back? And I would be lying if I said that. Yeah, that thought didn't pop in my head as he's making great catches against Indiana, having a career game early on against Maryland of, oh God, I hope we can hold on to him, which is kind of sad as, you know, that's what you got to do as a college sports fan now, worry about a kid leaving after his freshman year. But Justin Thind, friend of the program, does great work over at 24/7 Sports. First off, he gave me his blessing to share this on the show because this was on their paid message board. It's been up there for a few days. I sent him a message saying, you care if I trot this out on the show? So, yes, Justin gave us the green light to go ahead and talk about this because he posted on December 5th, right before the weekend, was just told that Nick Marsh will officially be staying. Was a productive week of dialogue, and it's a large sum of money. Was a great job by the donors getting it together, all without dipping into the figure that was set aside for the transfer portal. Now, Justin Thind did say this, and I will also echo this too. He did use the word officially back. Nothing's ever official in the world of college football, of course. We know this as a really good lesson here last year with, well, Derek Harmon and Simeon Barrow. They got some good money going into the winter. And then, what's that U-Haul doing in the parking lot of your apartment complex? Oh, you guys are going to Oregon and Miami? Oh, okay. Things can happen. Things can get wonky. But just as Justin typed out, and just as I've heard as well, MSU did a really good job of putting together a package that is going to make it that Nick Marsh does stay for his sophomore year here at Michigan State. Not a guarantee. Sure, could he get just oodles and goobles of money in the spring to get swayed away? I guess, sure, but he was already getting offered some pretty big money. Now, these are all rumors. Of course, you can't believe everything you hear in the world of college football, but there was at least one SEC school, rumor has it, that they were going to throw him $1 million, okay? And, you can't just announce every rumor that you ever hear on a podcast like I'm doing, but have it on good authority. Also, the SEC, no strangers of throwing around money. Also, heavily rumored that, yes, that school down the road, well, they certainly had their eye on Nick Marsh. And it is also no secret, based on what they did in the recruiting world this offseason. So, yeah, they've got some money to throw around, too. Okay, so this was a really good job by Michigan State, by the donors, to keep Nick Marsh in the green and white. This is as big on the field as it is off the field, guys, because on the field, it goes without saying, the guy is absurd. 41 catches as a freshman, 649 yards. That is a freshman record at Michigan State. And, point blank, he was the best freshman receiver not named Jeremiah Smith or Ryan Williams. If those two gentlemen had any other hobbies other than football, let's say Jeremiah Smith played the accordion and Ryan Williams, he wanted to be a water polo player. Nick Marsh was the best freshman receiver in the country. So yes, obviously on the field, it makes an impact, but off the field, my goodness gracious, guys, like this is as big off the field as it is on the field, because this starts to answer the questions about how strong Michigan State truly is in the NIL landscape. And that's been a major, major question mark. Tie that in with the recruiting class that's ranked 50th. And I know that recruiting isn't all about the NIL, but really hard for us to hear that, hey, no, guys, no, believe me, NIL's in a great spot here at Michigan State, and you're just scraping by to get the 50th ranked class. Something wasn't adding up. You also saw some guys leave not too long ago, whether it's the Keon Coleman, Peyton Thorne news cycle, or last year's the Simeon Barrow, Derek Harmon. You want to throw Geno Vandenmark in there too? Sure, whatever. You can't keep hearing that NIL is good, but keep seeing things go the other way, right? Well, this certainly helped things go in the direction that Michigan State wants things to go. Just like we said, other schools were going after him, unquestionably. Tampering happens all the time. I'm sure that they were very busy receiving texts, emails, phone calls from other schools saying, hey, come on down here. Come on. You guys get the point. Look, and Jonathan Smith gave credit to Spartan Nation NIL on signing day. They were pretty paramount in getting Jace Clarizio out of East Lansing. They were pretty paramount in getting Aiden West's commitment over Ohio State when it came down to it. So, okay, that's another, stream of good news there on signing day, of course. And then Alan Haller. Now, this was shared by David Harns of Spartans Illustrated. He shared this on Twitter that Alan Haller wrote a letter to Spartan Nation, the whole community, just talking about the NIL landscape. Yes, we are committed. This, and that. Also shouted out Greg and Dawn Williams and then Steve St. Andre. So they're not done spending generously their money to the program right now. Now, there's a long way to go this offseason. Believe me, like, you're also going to grade how strong NIL is based on this transfer portal class, which will have to be a strong one if Michigan State is going to be competitive next year. But right off the bat, this Nick Marsh stuff, that was going to be an instant pass-fail grade. We went into the offseason saying, if you lose Nick Marsh, don't really care what happens the rest of the portal cycle. Like, you failed NIL-wise. Like, that shows you that Michigan State is not players in the NIL landscape. Well, right there, you got him back, most likely. That shows you that, okay, Michigan State, yes, they can be players. Will they ever be at the level of, like, a Texas or a Georgia or Alabama or even Ohio State and Michigan? To be determined, probably not. But at least you're in that next tier of being serious about spending on football. So that's great news, because if you're a student at Michigan State and you own wide receiver gloves, well, boy howdy, now might be your best chance to ever be not just a Spartan, but like a starter on this team, because Nick Marsh is the only guy that's returning from the receiver room last year that recorded a stat. Now, Montori Foster, he's out. Alante Brown, he's out. They're out of eligibility. But Isaiah Johnson, he declared that he will be entering the portal when it opens on Monday. He had 16 catches last year, 276 yards, 2 touchdowns. Really strong year from Isaiah Johnson. Jalen Smith, just 1 catch, 16 yards. I know that a lot of people inside Michigan State were really hopeful at the growth of this kid from Texas later on in his career, but obviously it's not going to be at Michigan State. Now, Jerron Glover, he already announced last week that he intends to enter the transfer portal. And then on Twitter on Saturday, saw this come by, that Antonio Gates Jr., he plans to enter the transfer portal as well. Now, he hasn't been with the program in a few weeks. When that tweet, I think it was from Hayes Fawcett, came across my timeline, I let out a chuckle, because Antonio Gates entering the transfer portal, yeah, thanks for that breaking news. That's like your ex that you broke up with in August texting you right now that, hey, by the way, I'm not going to make it to your family's Christmas dinner. Like, no kidding. We haven't heard from you in weeks. You haven't been part of our lives in weeks. But anyway, if you were not hip to it, Antonio Gates Jr. is not coming back. He's also in the portal. So we also got some other departures here. I got to talk about Nathan Carter. He's declaring for the NFL draft. But first, you need to talk your ears off about Omaha Steaks. Now, if you're scratching your head, you have no idea what you're going to get someone for Christmas. Well, folks, Omaha Steaks might be a great spot to start with. Nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like the unrivaled quality and taste of Omaha Steaks. It's guaranteed perfection in every single bite, and right now you can save on unforgettable gifts with 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, score an extra $30 off with promo code COLLEGE. With 5 generations of experience, they consistently deliver the world's best steak experience, and the gifting experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to deliver the perfect gift with thoughtfully curated gift packages featuring gourmet favorites. From legendary steaks to mouth-watering desserts and more, save 50% off site-wide for a limited time at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners can get an extra $30 off with promo code COLLEGE. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com and an extra $30 off with promo code COLLEGE. Minimum purchase may apply. Also, guys, teamticker.com. Great holiday sale right now. I'm going to cut to the chase. You can get $50 off your team ticker sign. That's an outrageous promo right there. No code needed. Guys, it's just at teamticker.com. You can save off this great sign that is always behind me when I'm recording. Now, if you're on the podcast, you can't see what I'm talking about. Well, first and foremost, I got a great Sparty. He's holding a sign that it's a countdown to kickoff, but juiced up with 50 times more steroids. They are giving weather forecasts, just like right behind me. They give you the AP polls. They give you stats. They give you schedules. Guys, it's only 2 feet by 1.5 feet, but it is going to be the talk of your man cave, your basement, your garage, wherever you put this thing. So for the Spartan in your life, head over to teamticker.com. Just like I said, with their holiday sale, you will save $50 right now at teamticker.com. Now, basketball talk is coming. Bear with me here, but still a very, very busy news cycle for Michigan State football going into the weekend and continuing through the weekend. Like Nathan Carter, he had one more year of eligibility he could have used. He is not declaring for the NFL draft now. Nathan Carter, 7 touchdowns, 499 rushing yards last year, and also for his impact that he had on the field, maybe even felt more so off the field too. This guy was a captain this year. Not voted on by accident. This guy was just a strong leader for the Spartans through and through. Some tumultuous times is what we'll call it here in his 2 years in East Lansing. Obviously, everything with Mel Tucker, and then the offseason cycle of getting a new coach, ushering in a new era of Michigan State football. Nathan Carter was here for it all. Transferred from UConn. I feel really bad because I obviously, as a fan, you want to see your team win. I wanted to see this team win for Nathan Carter. Specifically, God, a shame that, not to open up old wounds, but the Michigan game this year, that was clearly his best game as a Spartan. Completely bummed, that they couldn't ever get to a bowl game for Nathan Carter, but just couldn't get the win on maybe his best game. He has some other strong games here and there throughout the season too, but yes, Nathan Carter, he's gone. K'Ron Lynch-Adams, he doesn't have any more eligibility to use. So not only if you're a hopeful Michigan State receiver on campus right now, maybe running back could be another position for you too. Now they do return Mekhi Frazier, Brandon Tulis, 2 guys that are true freshmen. They combined for 14 carries last season. Michigan State, though, already active in the portal. This is reported on by Alan True of 24/7 Sports. Emmett Johnson of Nebraska, 5.1 yards per carry for the Cornhuskers on 102 carries last year. 5'11", 200 pounds, just the perfect build that Johnson Smith and Brian Lindgren like with their running backs. He's in the portal. Michigan State has shown interest. Emmett Johnson's camp also showing interest there too. So, guys, when I say that Michigan State, they only have Nick Marsh returning in the receiver room, they've also just lost their top 2 running backs from last year. I'm not really too concerned. I don't think, while we did like Isaiah Johnson, while we did like Jerron Glover, we did like Jalen Smith's upside from what you hear from people inside the building. Not to put a phrase that is almost demeaning on these kids, but I think that we're looking at replacement level position players here at this point. The transfer portal seems to be always teaming with wide receivers, running backs. Yes, it's kind of jarring that, oh my God, they've lost so much between the running back and the receiver room. Not all too concerned. If you keep your impact guys like Nick Marsh, that's great. Outside of there, I don't think there's going to be much of a drop-off from what Michigan State has lost. Not to be just horribly mean and kicking these guys on the way out saying good riddance, but Truly, that's just kind of where I sit with it right now. Now, Jalen Thompson, this is another bummer, true freshman defensive back. He played 6 games, 183 snaps, mostly at safety because, well, all of our other safeties died during the season. He is also in the transfer portal. He cited some illness in his family. He wants to go back home closer to Tennessee. So good luck to him there. That is a bummer to miss out on him because Look, secondary depth has been an issue here for Michigan State for quite some time. And then Jack Carson Wentz stepped in lawn snapping duty last year. So he's going to be in the transfer portal as well. So let's move on to basketball. Oh, my God. 89-52. Curb stomping over the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Now, I know it's Nebraska. I know it was at home. But, guys, Nebraska's not your typical Nebraska team that they have been, kind of in the mid-2010s, if you want to go that far. That's a decent Nebraska team. They came into the season with just one loss. A close loss against St. Mary's. Solid. Fine. They beat Creighton. Okay? They were ranked on Torvik, number 41, going into this game. MSU beat the absolute breaks off them. And it was, oh my goodness gracious, guys. What made Nebraska strong going into this game is that they were a top 25 defensive efficiency team going into this afternoon. Okay, Michigan State, how do they counteract that? Well, 29 made baskets, 20 of those assisted. They had 18 fast break points. They had 43 points off the bench. Gang, that is the 4th time this year Michigan State has scored above 40 points off the bench. My goodness gracious, this team is deep. They are talented. And, well, speaking of talent, you already knew that Jaden Akins, Jace Richardson were talented. 34 points from them combined. Now, the Spartans, this was a rebounding margin out of this planet. A 48-19 victory on the boards for the green and white in this one. At one point in the second half, Jaxon Kohler had 10 rebounds on the game to Nebraska's 11 rebounds. I mean, more on Jaxon Kohler in a little bit. We are going to profusely apologize for ever doubting that he could make a leap from his sophomore year to his junior year. We are not done talking about Jaxon Kohler, but when I had a really good feeling about this game on Saturday, sitting on the couch, Big Ten Network, all right, let's tune up some Cornhuskers right here. Really had a good feeling about this one when the pregame interview with Tom Izzo was really all about how, Izzo wasn't too thrilled with his team defensively lately. Yeah, they beat North Carolina. Great. You know what? Awesome. They beat Minnesota. They saw some shots go in against Minnesota. But in that pregame interview, Tom Izzo said, we're making some more shots. We're looking better offensively, but that's really let our defense get a little lackadaisical. And that's when I knew that we were going to see a Tom Izzo masterclass here. 2 really good wins, beating North Carolina in Maui. And then, yes, a good road victory to open up Big Ten play. But, Tommy was going to make sure his team didn't get fat and sassy on the defensive end. So, sure, you guys feel really good about yourselves. 2-1 in Maui. Opened up with a decisive victory on the road against Minnesota. Well, guess what? You guys suck at defense was probably the calling card of the practice sessions going into this one. And yeah, they held Nebraska to 33% shooting. In every single basket Nebraska had to make looked like they were pulling teeth out. It was a chore for the full 40 minutes on the court. Guys, you know what? The first half, pretty comfortable. Michigan State in control by double digits for the most part. But the Huskers did cut it to a 6-point deficit with about a minute to go before halftime. So, you know what? That was probably enough for Izzo to just start tearing the paint off the walls in that locker room at halftime because they came out in the second half not letting Nebraska score in the first 10 minutes pretty much. Nebraska took 10 minutes in the second half to score just 5 points. All right, and at that point, by the time they got their 5th point in the second half, Michigan State was already up 68-36. So, yeah, that was a defensive spectacle put on by Michigan State. And I just, like we talked about, to start this conversation, that's a really good Nebraska team defensively. They dropped damn near 90 points on them. I completely embarrassed them. So we are going to talk more about Jaxon Kohler, also just the big men in general, too. I'm going to give some thoughts on the college football playoff bracket. Who cares about them? Well, guess what? I'm going to give them to you anyway. But first, you need to tuck your ears off about FanDuel Sportsbook. Now, if you're like me, you've already placed some wagers on the college football playoff coming up, guys. Or, hey, if you're also like me, you love some NFL betting. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because, well, right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So, when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You will get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet. That's over at FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. So I'm going to sound like a broken record here if you watch my little post-game video on Twitter after the game, which, first of all, I know I said that we would have this episode Saturday night. I completely forgot about the rest of my schedule. Anyway, thanks for your patience here for this episode if you're waiting on this. Second of all, you heard me say we are going to apologize to Jaxon Kohler right now. And in that video, I said, look, I don't think I was ever a Jaxon Kohler hater necessarily, but I certainly did not fully believe that he would have enough of a developmental offseason where he can make this much of an impact this early in the season and, really shore up a lot of Michigan State's issues in the front court. And to that, I would like to say, I'm sorry, Jaxon Kohler, I am dead wrong on that. Now, I know we got a lot of season left. Am I saying that Jaxon Kohler is going to be first team all Big Ten? He's going to shut down every other big man that we face? No, not necessarily, but my goodness gracious, leaps and bounds better than last year. And because of that individually, just as a position, just as a team, Michigan State much better off. Now, in this one, on Saturday afternoon, 8 points, 12 rebounds, 7 of those offensive rebounds. Michigan State as a team had 17 second chance points. And look, I think he played 24, maybe 25 minutes. Guys, it seemed like he was on the floor for 19 of those minutes. This man, it just truly personifies what Michigan State basketball is all about. Grit, effort, blood, guts, tears. He's leaving it all out on the court. He was everywhere for Michigan State. Now, so far, we're about a third of the way through the regular season, 8-8 on the season. Honestly, great. That's awesome. Did not see those numbers coming, especially the 8 rebounds portion. But he is Michigan State's best rebounding force so far this season. And also, in this game on Saturday, it really seemed like Nebraska said, hey, who's that 6'8", maybe 6'9" on a good day guy over there? Is that Jaxon Kohler? Great. Perfect. He's a little deficient defensively. Let's go right after him in the post. No, you're not actually going to do that, Nebraska, is what Jaxon Kohler said. And he did a really sound technical job of it, just straight up with his hands the entire night. He played real sound fundamental defense, only committed 1 foul, and they kept going after him, especially in the first half. And no, just kept getting walled off, made every shot tough for the Cornhuskers. So, Jaxon Kohler, I apologize for not believing. That's what I'll put it. I thought that he could be a fine player for Michigan State this year. Best case scenario. But no, it's clear at this point that he's more than a fine player. He's been doing really, really well. So, yes, it was a question mark going into the season. Again, we're about a third of the way through the regular season already. Think we have our answer there. Now, is he going to be a scoring threat every single night? No. I mean, I think it's also game plan dependent too. You've seen him take a backseat offensively in plenty of games so far this season. But you know what he will always be counted on for? Not just the fundamental defense, but that rebounding. Might be one of the better rebounders, if not the best one in the conference so far. And let's just keep talking about the big man position too, because here I am. I'm going to screw up his first name. Jamon Zapala. Mr. Zapala, that's what we'll talk about right here. We have not talked enough about him so far this year. Now, look, he had 6-6 against Nebraska, not world-beating numbers. He's had 15 combined points in the last 2 games, but you don't have to be world-beating to be, I don't want to say drastic upgrade, but a sizable, unnoticeable upgrade over the center position from last year, right? I was with all of you guys. I heard that, oh my God, we got a bench player from Wanwood. is that going to make a difference? Like, I know that the bar for center play is 20,000 leagues beneath the sea right now, but surely we could do better than that. No, it turns out that's kind of really all Michigan State needed so far this season for it to be a tangible upgrade here. Now he's finishing at the rim at 68%. Okay, and even more so than this, guys, you're not going to find this on a box score. He can catch the ball. He can catch that round orange thing and keep it in his hands. That's what we're talking about with the bar was beneath the ocean floor last year. But, guys, like, it makes a difference that you could just pass it to him. He will catch it. And when he does catch it, guys, oh, my God, he actually, like, does have a post move. He can go up and under through the basket. He's got a nice little hook shot about him. And, oh, my goodness, if he grabs an offensive rebound, I'm going to get emotional talking about it right now. He grabs the ball as a 6'11", 7-foot player, and you know where that ball stays? Above his chest the entire time. He doesn't inexplicably grab the ball, crouch down so low that you don't even see him anymore, dribbles it below his knees, and then comes up for 2 pump fakes no one's going to buy, and then gets swatted, and then next thing you know, the other team's running down the court, and you're left asking yourself, how did this player ever get a scholarship here at Michigan State? So, like, it's not flashy numbers. He's never really even played more than 20 minutes in any of these games, but he has a role, he fits it, and he just does it so fundamentally sound. So I just shout out to Zapala so far this season. I know that we were kind of down on his transfer because, well, we wanted more, and I'm not saying that Michigan State has, like, oh, they got one of the best front courts in the Big Ten now. No. But it's like average, and that's really all this team needed. It was just like an average front court going into the season. And so far, I know we're just 2 conference games in, but if you take all those other games MSU has played, yeah, it's looking a little better. So thank you, Kohler, for your work ethic. Thank you, Zapala, for being tall and realizing that you're tall and just keeping the ball up high when you are a tall person. Shout out to you guys. Really appreciate it. I just need to sound off on the cultural playoff bracket really quick here. I know that, you guys come here for Spartan talk, MSU talk, and Go Green talk, but I'm sorry. I'm hijacking the show right now because I need someone to explain something to me right now. I know I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. Okay, I graduated from Michigan State with a nice degree. It was an undergrad degree, certainly not a master's, certainly not a doctorate. Guys, you're probably a lot smarter than I am. So if you are, please explain something to me right now because SMU over Alabama makes sense. Call me crazy. I think arriving in your conference championship game and playing really well, you shouldn't get punished for that. All right, Michigan State fans, hey, let's make this about Michigan State for a second. We know how BS it is to get screwed over and punished for playing in a conference championship game, just like we were back in 2011. All right, there you have it. So beyond that, beyond reopening those scars, the refrain that I keep hearing from SEC talking heads and Alabama fans, and even the Alabama athletic director himself alluded to this, is that, that's official. We're done. We are done scheduling tough non-conference teams. That's it. We are done doing this. This is what screwed us over. This is the sole reason Alabama got left off, is because we just need to make our non-conference schedule even worse. Okay, I really scratched my head. I was like, wow, I don't remember any non-conference games Alabama was in that I actually watched because there was no appeal to watch them. And no, sure enough, it was Western Kentucky, University of South Florida, Wisconsin, one of the worst Wisconsin teams in a generation, and then powerhouse Mercer for their 4 non-conference games. Sure, they had good home wins against Georgia and South Carolina, but the issue wasn't that you got dummied up against a really good non-conference team. No, the issue was that you lost to Vanderbilt. Sure, the best Vanderbilt team in quite some time, but it's Vanderbilt at the end of the day. And also, you didn't lose to Oklahoma. You got smacked around by Oklahoma. And this isn't, the Oklahoma Sooners that we're used to with Lincoln Riley or, the Barry Switzer teams. Oklahoma sucks this year. They were terrible this year, and you got absolutely steamrolled by them. So, if someone can help me connect why they're crying about we got to make our non-conference schedule weaker. To Alabama losing to 500 Oklahoma and Vanderbilt teams, please talk to me like I'm 5 years old, because I do not get it. Yes, I understand SMU, not a strong schedule. They don't have a lot of really, really good wins, but they don't have any losses like the ones we just talked about. Like, their losses were to BYU at the start of the season, and then that Clemson game. Those are pretty two good losses. So, yeah, again, punishing a team for making the conference championship, I think it's a little ridiculous, and it's also ridiculous to cry if you're Alabama. Well, you wanted to make it. I don't know, show up with a pulse against Vanderbilt or find a way to get to the quarterback and stop the run against one of the worst offensive lines in the nation in Oklahoma. So that was strange. Again, I'm not bright. If someone can really just help me explain this to me, lockedonspartans@gmail.com. I'd love to read what you have to say. That was really embarrassing, though, by everyone in SEC country and Alabama country. Odd show in general, too. Alabama gets snubbed, and they got to go to Nick Saban, Greg McElroy, and then Reese Davis, three guys that have Alabama ties. I thought they were going to start crying at the desk. It was strange. Anyway, my other prediction is that this is the last year you see buys for conference champions. Oregon gets either Tennessee or Ohio State, whereas Penn State, the Big Ten runner-up, they're going to get Boise State maybe in the second round if they win, which, by the way, I don't think they will win. Let me give you my predictions right now. I'm not going to go through every single game, but hey, you know what? Let's end the show with this. The semifinals, I have Oregon over Texas in the semifinals, and then in the other semi, I have Georgia over Boise State, because it is just canon that James Franklin will be the first coach to lose a home playoff game, because he just doesn't win big games. He can't do it. Not in his DNA. So it will be Georgia over Boise State in the other semi, Oregon over Georgia in the title game. Sure. Who am I rooting for? I guess Boise State. Give me SMU. Give me one of the smaller teams. I don't really care for any of the other teams. So there you have it, folks. It's Locked On Spartans, your team in green and white. We do this 5 days a week. Have yourself a great week, guys. Love you all. Go green.